I urge you guys to implement technology that can not only support your company operations or business operations, but also that of your country's national security, because we are all here. If you're going to ask everybody in this room here who is involved in security, what is your main focus? What is your main function? Is to support the narrative of national security. And I want you all to always remember that, because not just the bottom line making money, it is supporting the national security infrastructure or whatever is in place. It is so fitting to talk with this crowd here, because the majority of you all here are members of the C-suite or have the heirs of the C-suite. So I just want to take the time just to recognize that. And because of the age of technology, or the advancement of utilization of technology, they were able to solve that crime and bring closure. And I want to stress on that closure to these family members. So that's just my takeaway for the safety moment before we start. Any contributions from anyone? Anybody familiar with the story? Anybody else following it by chance? No? Okay,
yes,
guys.
Yes. Yeah, me too. Also send out condolences to the family. Yeah.
All right, guys. So following to, sorry, Ken, you're saying?
No, I'm just saying it's just a very unfortunate set of circumstances that they couldn't locate her before she died.
Yeah. So true. All right, guys. So following the format of today's session, which includes one, a review of chapter 1, a brief review of chapter 1, with a detailed discussion on NDAs, which is on appendix C of page 43. And then secondly, we're going to go into a review of our homework, which was the review of chapter 2, 3, and 4. And we're going to try to see if we're going to be able to do a re-review of chapter 2, 3, and 4, and everything is going to go, as I told you all in last class, we're going to go speed in today, right? And then hopefully, if we still have some time, we're going to touch on some discussion of assessment type questions, which will spill over into next week's final class. Next week, please bug one, next week final class, which is our final information security class. All right, guys. So what we're doing right now, for those of you who were absent on Wednesday and didn't have a chance to view the recording, we're going to do a brief review of chapter 1. So you could turn, those of you who weren't here, you could turn to page 1. And if it is you need the highlighted notes from anyone at all, you could feel free to check in with myself, Carlos, or any of your colleagues in this chat here. So I would have begun by asking all persons to highlight certain salient points of the information security text. And I just want to remind all, the reason why we decide to highlight the salient points is that during your rereading or during your preparation, you are not going to be flustered by the amount of content you're going to see. You will be able to see things that you in the past you would have deemed important, and you decide to highlight it. So it's going to aid in your preparation for your CPP exam. All right, guys, that's the real intent of highlighting the salient points. Yeah, yes, the entire book is good, make for good reading, as I always say. But my intent, my focus is to make you to be able to pass CPP. After you pass CPP, you could read the whole book. As a matter of fact, you could even go and read the whole legal text. Right? My focus to underpin is to ensure that you pass and you earn the designated right of CPP. So I would have started off in 1.1. Those of you who weren't present, we would have asked to highlight the first 3 lines, certain parts of the 3 lines, which read, information access container of sensitive and proprietary information, privacy protected data, intellectual property, intangible assets, and information. And I will ask you to also highlight trade secrets, patents, and copyrights. For those of you who were here, you're in agreement with that? You would have had that highlighted. This is the persons who were here. Ken, you were present. Response review?
It was the first paragraph.
First paragraph, correct?
First paragraph.
Excellent. All right, so we want to turn to page 2 and say we are moving quickly. I'm just doing a simple recap or a re-review of chapter 1, and this is also for those who weren't here. I've seen 2 or 3 persons who would not have been able to capture the necessary notes. Chapter 2, we didn't touch on it as much. It is the history of espionage and business intelligence. It is my opinion, guys, as I keep saying, that the unhighlighted parts, it makes good reading after your CPP, right, guys? just to touch in here, Sun Tzu have talked about the 5 classification of spies, internal spies, etc. So again, we could read that after. Ironically, however, if you're going to look at page 3, I just want to just shift your focus to that. Sorry about that. Just shift your focus to page 3, and you don't need to highlight this. I just want to just draw a point. And I would have mentioned it in my last class. Somewhere on the 3rd paragraph, and I'll read it verbatim again. You don't need to underline it. I just want to draw a point. In the 1970s, to mitigate the threat of espionage, open source collection, and aggressive targeting, the FBI established the Developing Espionage and Counterintelligence Awareness DECA program. And this is the part I want to stress on, which aimed to educate US industry. That line is really important, not only for this domain, but all the other domains going forward. Because CPP speaks to US industry. So I need for you all folks to take off your developing nation lens, be it from Guyana, Trinidad, Jamaica, Suriname. Take off your developing nation lens and put on your US lens, because everything here is based on the US doctrine. So forget the terms, forget the localized jargons or anywhere or method of practice that you have done locally, and let's solely focus on US. It is extremely important for this and all the other domains that I mentioned, because you're going to talk about span of control. We look at span of control. Okay, so we talk about there's a term called span of control, basically, which means how much persons report to you. In PNT, we use a different number. For the US, they use a specific number. So I wanted to underpin that line, which the 3rd paragraph read, which aim to educate US industry. All right, so we're moving fast along, guys. Moving to page 5. For those of you who are here, I will ask you to highlight 1.3.2 threat categories and example. I would have asked you all to highlight intentional threat. We are on page 5. We are moving to page 6. I would have asked you all to highlight natural threats, inadvertent threats. Page 6 again, data mining. Somebody have a mic on? You can turn off your mic, please. Okay, bargaining. We have talked on data mining. We have spoken on TikTok. Insiders. If you look at page 7, we have, Mr. Bascom would have given a nice in-depth explanation of insiders. And this will actually fall part of what we're going to stretch and talk about more today, which is the NDA, as we close up chapter 1. We turn the page again, and I'll ask you all to highlight counterfeiting and piracy. We were looking at page 9 again. I was asking you all to highlight risk assessment and due diligence. I have stressed on the importance of due diligence because it comprises the basic functionality as to how you prepare, and protect not only yourself, but your company from any persons who may wish, any persons who may have, Carlos, there's a Curtis, but he's joining. Any persons who may have malevolent intention to remove any data or information from your organization. And I want to stress on this here, and you just, again, if you didn't highlight it, bold. Due diligence is the first measure that you have to take to be able to protect your organization. And the first method is ensuring that you have necessary background checks or background investigation and having your employees sign an NDA. Again, I'll touch on it, but we have just gone past, we are on the 9th page, and we have seen the importance of NDA again. So NDA is extremely important, and that is why I thought it fitting to touch on NDA in chapter 1 here. We're moving on to 1.3.4, and you will see we have spoken about attaining buy-in, and I would have read out the article, the 3 trends that are shaping industry, and we spoke about the reorganization or realignment of security reporting chain. So no longer, one of the days when a security practitioner or security professional would have reported to a manager or report to somebody who reports to somebody who reports to the president. No. Industry best practice and ASIS speaks that the CSO must report to the highest level of office. Guys, I want you all to remember that for exam question. The CSO must report to the highest level of office. So if it is asked a question like, does the CSO report to the manager of security, the manager of auditing, the vice president, or the president? whichever the highest answer is that you see there will be president. So that will be the answer, okay, guys? We are moving to page 12. I mean, when you all reach here, all right?
Excuse me,
Yes.
attending buy-in. I think you were specific, you know. You suggested that we go up to protection program.
Right. So what we just doing is just recapping. So so we'll discuss a little more as we go into chapter 2. But the time we spent in chapter 1, I'm just breezing through it. All right.
All right, good. All right, thank you.
Okay, welcome. Page 12, 1.4.2, physical security. We were speaking about the physical security is the second highest weighted domain. And when you're doing that module with whichever presenter, you need to give your utmost because it makes up 16% of the current exam. I believe, if memory serves me correct, we will see that information security makes up 13%, which is roughly 30 to 31 questions that you may get, right? I would have asked you to highlight layered protection, defense in depth. Again, you are going to see this in your module as you go about physical security and throughout the entire other domains. It's going to interlink. So it's actually good to grasp the concept. We move into page 15, privacy protection. I would have asked you to highlight PII. Again, as another member here with CPP certified, he can attest that when you complete the exam, we are cautioned not to release or not to give away any questions. So I'm not doing that. However, I am recommending that if it is a question come in the exam that asks, what is PII? When it comes to a question that I could phrase for you on Wednesday is, as it pertains to information security, what does PII means to privacy protection? And I will give you, PII stands for three things, 3 wrong answers and 1 right answer, and it means personally identifiable information. So if it is you have a highlighter or you could put some asterisks here right now, right, guys? Moving quickly to page 16, I would have asked you to highlight business practices and the IAP principles and what that essentially means. Nice, we're moving up to page 17, and your book should probably look at something similar like mine, which is very colorful. And OPSEC is the new methodology for protection from an information security standpoint and also information gathering. So I would have asked you to highlight the first 4 lines in operation security information risk management. I hope you all have that. In the second paragraph as well, I would have asked you to highlight, in effect, OPSEC is a system of information risk management. Again, I am cautioned not to talk about the exam, but it is a question. It is recommended to actually understand this, what information risk management is. You all would have done risk management with Colonel Garcia, and he would have explained to you all that what we do here, installation of cameras, installation of IDS, alarm system, all of that really feeds into risk mitigation. So our job here as security practitioners, security professionals, is risk management. I would have on this page 17 as well, I would have asked you all to highlight the 3rd paragraph, the entire 3rd paragraph, and the ending bullet points. Sorry. We're moving to page 18. I would have asked you all to highlight page 1.4.7, which is travel and meeting security. We are on to page 20, and I want you all to check this again, right, guys? We're on page 20. I would have asked you all to highlight 1.4.8, which is preventing and detecting and illegal copying. And I want you all to pay close attention to the 3rd bullet point. Now, this is the 4th time we just on page 20, and this is the 4th time they spoke about NDA. So again, I want to reiterate how important this is for you to fully grasp and understand the importance and concept of NDA. And just read what it says here. It requires all employees, vendors, and subcontractors to sign an NDA. All right. I asked you all to highlight legal protection. The good thing is, guys, is that as TNT nationals, Mr. Skeet, the chair, Mr. Neptune, will have to confirm if this is applicable for you as well. But for those of you who are doing the domain, if it is your RIDE Prometric exam in TNT, and again, Mr. Skeet, please take note of it to confirm from Mr. Neptune. If it is you are doing the domain in TNT, you would not be required to do the domain for legal. Just point a note, okay, guys? So just on going back to page 21, on your free time, you can just read this aspect of legal protection, but you don't need to go in depth to the legal domain. It's one of the texts that you'll have in your possession. I have asked you all move into page 22 to highlight 1.5.1, which is copyrights. I will touch briefly, but I would have underpinned the importance of 1.5.2 trademarks, 1.5.3 patents, 1.5.4 trade secrets, 1.5.5 international concerns. Boy, look at page 25 now, guys. They have a whole thing here about NDA. All right, so just again, I would have asked you to highlight this. Don't worry, we're gonna come back to this as part of our end wrap up for chapter 1. Okay, guys. Anybody counting how much time we talk about NDA already since we start chapter 1? Anybody counting by chance? Michael?
I didn't count.
Okay,
But
Riyadh?
I from memory, it's about 5 times.
Okay. Riyadh, that's 5 is a good number.
Yeah, that sounds about right. 5 or 6.
All right, guys. So y'all see how much time they're talking about this thing, right? Go figure, right? Let's talk quickly about NDAs. If you all follow any story, and there's a reason for the little cross discussion, because it's gonna help you in the exam, it's gonna help you in your review. Kodak, if you all will follow any story right now with in July 2020, Kodak would have attracted some unwarranted attention from the Security Exchange Commission, because they, as most of you all know, Kodak would have never really diversified their production portfolio or their type of services that they offer. So they were always stop and go, flash photo, etc. And they were basically going under, and the government would have bailed them out, and their share price went from $6 to $60. And Trump would have made an intervention to say, well, here, how come so much of your business elites would have bought out so much of the IPO? Did they have any prior knowledge? And this is what, if it is, you're going to go back to your notes now about insider. This is where the insider information came about. This was actually Martha Stewart. If you follow Martha Stewart cooking, she was actually locked up because of insider trading. So again, if it is that the board members, or the chairman, or the executives, or the golf partners of Kodak, cronies or friends, would have gotten any hidden information from Kodak that they were going to get bailed out, and the government, the US government, can pick up evidence that here was the scene. That kind of information was given out, and they signed an NDA. Silver bracelets could be handed on to these Kodak C-suite. So just again, just to share with you the protection that you get from having an NDA. Okay, guys, 1.6.1 on page 26. We're going to touch on TSCM, which is Technical Surveillance Countermeasure. And essentially, this is for those of you who are here, TSCM is very important right now. Basically, if you have any sweep in the room for any eavesdropping, or any as James Bond will have it, bugs, or any along that line for listening devices or camera, any along that line that could give your competitor or somebody insight into your personal discussion, private discussion as a company or entity. So TSCM is a measure, the practice in terms of how you sweep your building, etc. You want to highlight or put an asterisk by that, right? Carlos, am I being politically correct when I say put an asterisk by it?
Yes. But you said page 36?
Page 26.
26.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
26. Page 26.
Okay, and lastly for this chapter, I'm not sure if this will have time if the cross discussion was going good. I have asked, we want to highlight on page 29, response and recover after an information loss. The nice thing is, with the person who's hosting the domain, Jared, good friend of mine, excellent professional, he will dive a little more in depth in terms of disaster recovery, emergency, all that kind. So if you have some time and you could go in depth into this, it'll help you as you go forward in the other domains. So go ahead, if it did not, go ahead and highlight 1.7, response and recovery after an information loss. This is investigation. You want to turn the page quickly and talk about damage assessment and recovery and follow. Okay, guys, so as we're moving on here, I want you all to turn to page 43. And page 43 is Appendix C, and it is what we essentially going to talk about, which is the non-disclosure agreement. All right, so that's giving everybody a 10 seconds to turn to page 43. And again, I want to reiterate the reason why NDAs, along with many other reasons, why NDAs are so fitting to talk about now, especially with this crowd and this for this chapter, is that the majority of you all here, as I said, I would have looked at the majority of your dossier. You all are either C-suite, chief executive officer, chief financial officer, or have the heirs of a C-suite. So if it is, you have the heirs of the C-suite, or you are the C-suite, you essentially have the decision-making authority. And if it is a company who do have an NDA, guys, it is time to implement it. As we saw in the book here, I didn't say all employees must have an NDA. The book said all employees must sign an NDA. And you're gonna have a question on Wednesday. A question that might throw to you all is what is another name for an NDA? And another name for an NDA is a confidentiality obligation. If it is, you turn to page 20, turn back to page 25. I don't know if you could go back to page 25. I want you all to look on the first paragraph, the second to last line, and it reads confidentiality obligations may need to be extended to board members, employees, agents, and others. So if it is you come about an assessment on Wednesday and I ask you, what is our next name for our NDA? And I tell you, next name for NDA is a don't tell nobody, see and don't tell, some fancy thing, or non-disclosure authority, and then I hit your confidentiality obligation. Now, in your head, you will think, oh boy, yeah, but NDA, non-disclosure authority. That's wrong. The right answer, according to the book here, is confidentiality obligation. So I need you to understand, guys, that the question and the answers that I will be giving you all comes straight from the book. Ken?
Yeah, Peter, can you just mute your microphone, please?
Sorry?
I'm asking Peter to mute his microphone.
Yeah, no problem, sure.
So guys, it's really important that we understand that, right? And again, I didn't see it. The book says it. That most of you on page 25, and you'll see again, look at here, all employees should execute an NDA as a condition of employment. All right, guys, all employees. So it don't matter if it is the person coming up for 3 months after. Yeah, Ken?
Sorry, I didn't lower my hand.
Oh, okay, no worries. That's okay. Yeah. So, and it should that's what you done. And it shouldn't extend to the employees as well. It should also go to the subcontractors because they themselves have preview to your information or can be exposed to information that is relevant to your company. Curtis?
Good evening. Is it safe to say that the NDA is very much similar to the, for want of a better, like if you have to sign something like the Secrecy Order Act?
I'm not sure. Is that local?
Yeah, Yeah, because I asked him because of my experience having worked for the Ministry of National Security.
Okay.
You had to sign a document which was the secrecy order under the secrecy order.
Okay. Honestly, I'm not sure, but I'm so glad you asked that, Curtis, because Curtis, you would have not joined by chance.
About 5-10 minutes when he was about 5-10 minutes ago.
Okay. So what we have talked about, and Curtis, that's a real good point, because you may see that in an exam, right? And I just say, you may see that in an exam, and you're gonna be like, "Ooh, I think this is the right thing." But for the purpose of CPP, yeah, I want you to. I think you would have missed that. I want you to take off your developing nation hat. I want you to take off your TNT institutional knowledge, right?
Yeah.
Guys, they will on Wednesday can bring a question like that. And you so Chris, I'll get back you'll give me back that information. So who knows? I might put it back in, right? But to get back to you guys, it is really important that we focus solely on this thing here. As I mentioned, Curtis, in your absence, the book is a real good book. It makes for great reading after you become CPP. What we're doing here today, Curtis, is just highlighting these salient points that as a physical security professional, as a cyber security, as information security, or just as security and whole professional, is my experience that would have been useful to you becoming CPP. Cool, Curtis?
Noted.
Yeah. So we know when you're done, Curtis, and when you name Curtis Batiste CPP, you and I will go sit down and read the whole book together, along with everybody here, right, guys? And just to take a bit on the pause. Remember, guys, what I'm doing for you guys, all I humbly ask, is that you pay it forward, and you do the same for somebody else. Recognize a security professional around you, and do the same with them. Spend some time, take some time on your or for your busy schedule, and just spend some time working on them. Give back. Okay, so we close up here on NDM. I'm looking at the time here, and I really want to cover everything today. So we want to move a little fast paced now, guys. I think I employed the importance of NDAs. All right, so let's turn to page 61. Now, I just want to tell everybody here today that I know that I gave you all homework, which was to read chapter 2, 3, and 4. And let me tell you something. I didn't expect all to finish all at best. I didn't expect all to finish the entire chapter, and at worst, I didn't expect anybody to start. Right. So if it is you did start, well, that's real good. If you finish, even better. If you didn't start, if you didn't have that time because of your schedule, guys, I understand everybody here is professionals. If you didn't get a chance to start, no worries, guys. We are going to dive into it, but you have to put the effort in after we finish here, right, guys? You need to find the time. So I'm going to start from bottom up, and I just want us to look to the bottom here. The purpose of this application, this exercise, if you look at the last paragraph, is to provide security professionals already knowledgeable in physical security paradigm. And I want you all to underline that word because we're going to touch on that as we move up. So we start from the bottom, go up for this page, my method. Security paradigm with a practical understanding of a new logical security paradigm. What that term paradigm means, right? Let's look at the second part, the last paragraph, which reads, you don't need to underline it, guys, but it's just the grassy concept as we go on. In the Structure of Scientific Revolution, 1962, second line, he introduced the word paradigm as a theoretical tool to understand all things one thinks about when one considers a scientific school of thought or one rigorous discipline, like physical security, or ISS. ISS stands for Information System Security. Again, not information security systems. Okay, guys? Information.
Page 51? Is it page 51?
Page 61. Page 61.
Thank you. Thank you.
No problem. Again, you don't need to highlight it. It is just to let you all understand how we're going to progress in this year. All right. And as we move up again to the second paragraph, so Mr. Skip, what we're doing is that we're moving up. And this is page here, moving up, right? we want to look at in the second paragraph. We want to look at the third to last line, which reads, to understand the never before seen challenges of an information system security, ISS. And I want you all to highlight that for me, please. What ISS means. Information system security. Okay, guys? Really important. And you're going to see as we move along how things like ISO and how they try to trick you, how they try to pull a little wool over your eye. But ASIS rewards you for reading the book. If you read the book, ASIS rewards you. So they will bring a question, what does ISO mean? Until it means International Standard Organization. And you will press yes, ISO means International Standard Organization, and they will tell you no, fail. What it means, we will get into it, right? But I want you out for the purpose here now to underline one thing. Means ISS means Information System Security. We want to move to page 62. And again, we are going to just touch briefly on these things. Just like in the first chapter, it makes good reading, right? And Kevin, this will actually be beneficial to you, with you and I, because it actually talks about the creation of the importance of security. For most of you all here who are not port security professionals or practitioners, and there's a code called the ISPS code, it really gets teeth, it really gets meat after 9/11. And essentially talks about here in the first paragraph, right? But I want you all to, just for the topic of this discussion here, look at the first paragraph, the last line, that means failure of imagination. Essentially, Mohammed Altaf and 16 others would have gone and learned to fly a plane, right? But nobody never went and think, hey, they learned to fly a plane, but they never really went and learned to land a plane. That sure is a red flag. And when we go on through this domain, you're going to see and understand, we're going to read what red flag means or what it represents. So after the whole commission, 9/11 commission, that's like how we had a 1990 commission in Trinidad and Tobago, or we had the Moines Commission, all them other fancy commissions. The 9/11 commission would have brought and concluded that they had all the conclusive evidence. The FBI and all the other fancy name departments had all the information and intelligence that there is something could happen or emanating to happen, but they didn't act on it. And they call it as the failure of imagination. You are going to come across this in your day-to-day life, in your reading, and all the other domains. If you're going to look at the second paragraph here, it talks essentially about, and again, it is not to highlight, it's just to bring the point at home, right, guys? You institute, in this instance here, the individual would have instituted, the owner of a hotel would have instituted cue cards and fancy card reader, RBH reader, and that kind of thing to prevent persons from accessing a pool. And some little child with nice thin hands would have been able to breach the burglar-proof slip shut in and open the door. That term is called, is called failure of imagination. It is just like that you apply to it on an information security spectrum, because you may have a website and that malevolent person, that hacker, and we're going to touch on what hacker is as we move on, will try to disrupt your operations, and he may do so by using a small hand, just like how the little girl used his small hand to enter the pool. He is going to use his small hand using something called SQL. If it is you now, this is what I want you to underline in this book here, in page 62. SQL, which is the bottom part, last paragraph. Attacks like this with the arcane name like SQL injections. SQL means structured query language. You need to know these things, guys. You need to know the meaning. You need to know the abbreviation. You need to know what it means for. But I'm going to direct you to that page. But if you can, write down this for me, please. SQL means structured query language. It is essentially what the hacker will use. It is the hacker's equivalent, small hands equivalent to what the young girl use for small hands. Yeah, it is the hacker's equivalent. So a hacker could use SQL to breach your network infrastructure. We keep it simple, guys, real simple, right? So SQL You can take it, highlight that, and it means structured query language. Again, we breezing through, guys. Good for good reading. Page 64, 65, 66, 67. All right, this is where it gets all nice now. Page 68 now, we are on. Economics of information system security. Now, these learnings wasn't created by me. These salient points I didn't come up with it. I am going to be honest here with you all where I got these from and how I was able to implement this in my successful and my other 5 colleagues, our successful venture of attaining CPP credential. We would have gotten this information from a gentleman named Dennis Shepard. As you would have seen in my first email, after concluding this, I am going to share with you that, that document that basically, again, everything that we do in here, what we do in one time is that how we killing 2 birds with 1 stone. We are highlighting it. So when you're doing your rereading and you're using Dennis Shepard's presentation, you'll actually see the same thing that we highlight is the same thing in the presentation. So you use the 3 aspects of learning. You read it, you write it, and you speak it. All right, guys. So thanks to Mr. Shepard, we are on page 68, and I want you to highlight a couple of things here. And couple is a couple. I using Trini word couple, right? Couple mean about more than 2. 2.3 economics of information system security. Everybody on it, right? All right, yeah. I'll take this chat. Nice. We want to highlight the first 4 lines from the first paragraph. From information security incidents cost money. No, guys, I'm not going to, 1, I don't like that by PowerPoint. And 2, I'm not going to ask you all to highlight everything and then go and explain it. No. I mean, we are all adults here, as I mentioned. It is verbatim, and the book is so nice. The people who write this book, yeah. So it is simple, and for your rereading, the first 4 lines, in the first paragraph, highlight that, please. All right, we are moving to the second paragraph now, and I need you to highlight that whole thing. Again, it is I didn't come up with it. Dennis Shepard, in his wisdom, saw it fit, and I actually saw how useful it is to highlight the entire second paragraph. All right, the second paragraph speaks. Oh, sorry, when you're finished, I'll just touch on it, and you'll just take your salient point, your notes after. Right? So we want to highlight the second paragraph. We also want to highlight in the third paragraph, we also want to highlight the first 3 lines. I'll give you an advance to this. If you can just turn your attention just to the camera quickly. This is what so we have some underlining to do, right? This is what it's going to look like. So you have a little underlining to do. So I'm going to take my time and make sure everybody gets the salient points correct. It just so happened that in this page, the whole page is salient points, right? But there is some clutter. Good reading clutter, but after it becomes CPP, right? Right, so third paragraph, first 3 lines, up to goodwill, right? Fourth paragraph, implementing security also has a cost. You know that again from above. You also highlighting in that same 4th paragraph, right, the line that after, firewall and other ISS technologies take capital away from other users. And ISS means information security systems, right, guys?
Yep. Information system security.
Bro.
Front of the class, say Kevin Rollins. Front of the class, Dr. Morgan Joe would have said front of the class, my brother. ISS stands for Information Systems Security. We want to highlight that. So where I see ISS, I want you to start singing it, right? Just like when you go into physical security, you're going to see PPS. I want you to highlight in your brain. Remember, sing that song, ISS. Okay? We're moving on now to the, I'll tell you, just so happen that everything highlighted in this thing. we finish with the first paragraph, we finish with the second paragraph, we finish with the third paragraph, we finish with the fourth one. But before we move on to the fourth one, just a little lesson, right? If you can just take a quick little note, just so you know, again, on the side of the book, is two course aspects, right? The second paragraph and third paragraph we're talking about here. The first paragraph talks about the cost of trade secrets. If it is somebody thief your trade secret, it have a cost to that. So the third paragraph now talks about the theft of customer social security numbers. That's a next cost. And all of this ties into all other forms of legislation that you would see here. You don't have to know, but it is specifically highlighted here for you to know for assessment purposes on Wednesday or whenever you decide to do whatever, right, guys? So that's just a point to note. So just to recap, the second paragraph talks about the cost for theft of a trade secret and all the other learnings there. The second one, which is it talks about the cost for theft of customer social security numbers. Let me tell you guys, just to put it in brass here, right? Somebody here have a company, and let me just say how Ken, you have a bank, and I give you all my credentials. I give you all my personal data, right? Personal information, and you lost information. You expect for me to say, well, I know, man, we good, man, that's all right. No, I want to ensure that you get rake over the coals. So there's a real importance that institutions have to pay when it is they have customer social security number. If it is, they lost it or theft, there's a serious cost to pay for that. It had no room for anybody under the bus. I don't, right? So again, the book talks about the economics of information system security. All right, so we're moving on. The fourth one, we finished the fourth one. We on to the fifth paragraph now. The fifth paragraph reads, information system security. Look at just spell it out for you. Normally through the book, and just a pause here, guys. Normally through the book, when they give you the abbreviation in the first paragraph, they go talk about it again. Now just keep referring to the acronym ISS. But they'll tell you it again what it means here, right? We are in the fifth paragraph. Information system security.
Mr.
Yes, sir.
You know, when I was reading this book, right, I read this chapter, and one of the things that I noticed, I think the book made a little mistake, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, look in the second paragraph there. Companies must ask themselves what it would cost them if a competitor had intellectual property like their customers.
Okay. Well, I'm not disputing the analysis of any errors, but Mr. Bascom, that actually brings me to a point. If it is during your reading of this text, and Mr. Bascom, I guess this will be specific for you with this. I can't defend what in the book. I just given you exactly face value from what Shepard tell me, right?
All right.
If it is you're good about the reading of the book, and you see any errors, detect any grammatical errors or anything that don't make sense, ASIS rewards you for bringing it to their attention. Carlos, I don't know if you'll confirm if it is financially awarded or if it will be CPD, if it will be points awarded. Carlos, you will just confirm that for me at a later date, right? So okay, Mr. Bascom, again, I'm not in a position to defend or correct them how they write it.
All right, fine.
Or how to phrase it now, right?
I thought all I was suggesting, I thought the better word there probably would be like information assets. Like, because we all know what intellectual property means. All right, but let's go. Let's think. All right.
All right. Sorry, I was on the fifth paragraph.
Which 1, 2, 3, 4? Which fifth paragraph?
Fifth paragraph. Excellent. So ISS.
Yes.
Information system security. Highlight that, please. And you would see an example here. That's actually a real good example, which is a new, so you can just write example next to it, right? A new salesperson might contribute $1 million or more in new sales. What does an information security analyst contribute to the bottom line? And guys, we see this every day. Well, me, not being a C-suite, but persons who may not be a C-suite as well. Persons may see us in an organization as you taking money, you're not contributing to the bottom line. But as you go about other domains, you are going to see a calculation called return on investment, and you are going to see how you can justify it. If it is to say, here, as you see, I need $2 million for a complete estate fence, and I'm going to have implement septic, or going to implement whatever, you should be able to justify to your management here, what just like how the salesperson could bring in $1 million in sales, I could save this company $3 million. Excuse from a theft, a loss, damage, lawsuit, whatever the case may be. So this is a perfect example, and I just to bring it home here, where you might go and tell your president, hey, Pres, boy, I need a new idea, some offense for it, right? You have $2 million for that. So it may appear that it's sucking money in the company, but once it is, you could do your justification using your ROIs, your return on investment, which we would see briefly in here, but more so dive deep in physical security, one of the other domains. Please don't hold me on that, right? As you would. Six liner here. Every hour management spends in a security meeting or personal spends on security awareness training is an hour that they could otherwise also contribute to the bottom line. All is to say that again here. That is how they feel. For every hour management spends in a security meeting or personal spends on a security awareness training, it is an hour that they could spend selling vacuums. It's an hour they could spend contributing to their bottom line, and that is the perception. And this is why we would have spoken about, bringing it back home now, we would have spoken about the 3 trends that are shaping the industry is the reorganization or realignment of your CSO or your security practitioner in institutional organization reporting to the highest chain of command. All right, important quote to note in the last paragraph here. How in basic risk management, how much one should spend to prevent an ISS incident equals to the probability of the incident time it costs. Now, sounds a little difficult, but I want you all to take your attention to the bottom paragraph. This is just one of many calculations. Yes, guys, yes, guys, yes, guys. You're gonna have to do a little math in the exam. No, small maths, but it fairly easy, and you're gonna have access to a calculator on screen. Fairly simple calculation, right? I want you all to take your attention now to that bottom of the paragraph. So bypass everything else. Go to the bottom of the paragraph now. And in a US civil case, right, guys? I want you all to look at on the bottom last paragraph. I want you to look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 5th line. After I talk about in which hand wrote. So in a US civil case, right, guys? A party is negligent if cost B, referring to cost as B, of taking adequate measure to prevent harm is less than the monetary loss, and refer to that in a competitive standpoint as L, multiplied by the probability of it actually occurring. And that formula is B less than PL. B again is cost, P is probability, L is loss. So to bring it down, if it is your cost or one should spend to prevent an ISS incident equals to the probability of the incident time it costs, then you already implement nothing. Basically, if it is you spend $1 to protect 25 cents, is your return on investment worth its while? And that's the question I have to ask, right? I want to just take your attention just to write down one key note for me, please. One note, if you have a textbook, you can write it down right there, right now. And I want you all to remember this line for me, please. The greatest protection of a corporate asset occurs when an appropriate mix of physical procedural, and electronic security measures is applied in relation to the asset being protected. All right, guys, I'm gonna repeat that, right? But I need you all to write on this, and this is what I need you to wrap your head around. It don't make sense, guys. You're spending $1 million on an asset just because you want to see how you're seen. I have cameras in this place. I have intrusion devices in this place. I have RBH, I have card reader, I have drop down barrier, I have man security. And what you really have? Because you're gonna be a laughing stock. I'm gonna repeat it here, guys. The greatest protection of a corporate asset occurs when the appropriate mix, and we're gonna talk, you're gonna see it, you're gonna tie it back in this domain, appropriate mix of physical, procedural, and electronic security measures is applied, and this is the highlight, in relation to asset being protected. Ken?
Yeah, if you can just repeat it a little bit slower.
Yeah, sure. The greatest protection of a corporate asset occurs when an appropriate mix of physical, procedural, and electronic security measures is applied. Important part here, because we just read it here.
Break up the paragraph now. You're going a little too fast. So
No problem. I'm gonna read it back over. In relation to the asset being protected, right? So I'm gonna break it up here, Curtis. The greatest protection of a corporate asset occurs when an appropriate mix of physical, procedural, and electronic, I repeat, physical, procedural, and electronic security measures. I want to say are because it's many, but I'm reading it here verbatim, is applied. This is the important line here now. Is applied in relations to asset being protected. And you are going to see that again in your business security and practices. I hope I have the domain name corrected, right? So you are going to go through all this formula calculation again in that, but I want you to see if it is a grasp the concept now. When you go down the road, man, you're firing, right, guys? So I'm going to read it out one last time. The greatest protection of corporate assets occurs when an appropriate mix of physical, procedural, and electronic security measures is applied in relation to the asset being protected. Carlos, I know you all know where that's from, right? If you're there right now, right?
Yes.
Yes. All right, guys, give me okay, so we're moving on, and I mean, I really want to finish up this, guys. And I am game to finish out the entire book here today with you guys. I am pushing, or I call it pushing, right? Right. Page 69. 3 core evolving domains, which is 2.4 critical success factors. And it's and again, 3 core evolving domains. I want you to highlight, and the 3 bullet points thereafter. There is something that I want to touch on with this here. That when we go to the next page, you're going to see. So we're saying 3 co-evolving domains of an ISS program, the 3 bullet points here. And I want you all to take stock and look at the second paragraph that reads, in an emerging information security minimum standard of due care. Minimum standard, right, guys? There are 7 critical success factors. If it is you look again, I'm going to repeat. Under 2.4, sorry about that, everyone. It sounds virtual learning. If it is you'll look at 2.4 under critical success factors, the second paragraph, which reads, in an emerging information security minimum standard of due care, you'll see 7 critical success factors, right? I want you to highlight that as well, but I want you to turn to page 70. Right? So highlight that before you turn. Sorry, highlight the 7 critical factors, and you're going to take stock of that. But one thing that does always slip here, and I spoke to someone recently who this would have happened to. You want to turn to page 70 now. There is an 8 factor, right? If you are going to look at the bottom here, we so switch on, we learning about 7, that we forget that it have 8. An 8 factor, right? And this is some serious question to take here, guys. I mean, if it is here, if you take on the 7, I want you to take on this 8 here. And the 8 factor, so you see, if the tell you before, 7 critical factors, right? In page 69. But then you turn page 17 on and tell you, an 8 factor. 8 factor, guys, is ISO. I want you to take note of this now. It forms part of the information security. And I highlight this, please. It's on the last paragraph, the second line, information security policy framework recommendations, and this one you need to highlight. There are many ISO standards that you're going to be working with whilst you're going through this domain. For the purpose of this domain, there are 2 that you must be familiar with. And I ain't telling you guys you already read things verbatim. No. I'm not about that. You just need to know. So is it. I can wash sweats, but I can't wash sweats good. But I can wash sweats. I know ISO 27001, 27002. I don't know it real good, but I know it. I know that there is something called Information Security Policy Framework Recommendation. And I all ASIS want to know, guys. ASIS want to know that how you read the people in the book, and they're going to reward you in the exam for reading the book. So I want you to, again, to reiterate, I want you to highlight that there's an 8 factor, and I want you to highlight ISO 27001, 27002, because this book is based on that difference. Of course, there are others that will really mix, but for the purpose of CPP and for this, and probably any assessments, you'll need to know about that, right? I was talking to you all earlier, and this is, if it is, I know there's space at the bottom here, so you can just take note of this. There are many acronyms, abbreviations, or whatever you call it, that are going to be thrown to you on Wednesday, right? Wednesday assessment, or any other assessment that you may do. And they are going to ask you, what does ISO means? And you know, I mean, we are in the speaking country, that's like we go to what FIDIC, and you know, FIDIC, what FIDIC means, but FIDIC is a French term. ISO similarly doesn't mean International Standards of Organization. ISO really means, and I need you to write this down, ISO means International Organization of Standards, IOS, but we don't abbreviate IOS. We abbreviated ISO. And what does ISO means? If you're going to ask anybody, what does ISO means? It means International Organization of Standards. Okay, guys? Write that down big. If it is, you have a green marker, a yellow marker, write that down. Really important for you to recognize and understand that, right, gents? Carlos, memories there, right?
Certainly.
All right, guys. I know it might be heavy, but watch my guys. You highlight these things. It's gonna come. It's gonna hit you.
Keron, I think that you see that because usually you know the meaning would follow the flow of the yeah.
Write that down. Right. All right, guys. So my last class, I already described a word that as sexy or have had a feminine connotation to it, right? Anybody can remember what that word was?
What's that?
In my last class, I had a feminine connotation to a word, and I described that word as sexy.
Fancy.
Yes. That word was convergence. Anybody can remember that?
Yes, you mentioned the word convergence.
Yes, I love what's going on, guys. As a young up and coming person, and who came through dial-up and understand now 5G, I've seen the trend or improvement in technology, and now to come into security and fall in love with physical security, I get them married too. And this is what convergence really is. That's my take on it, right? We want to move to page 71 now. And throughout your entire domain, you are going to hear about convergence, convergence, convergence. There are many, many, many meanings who take on what convergence is. But as I mentioned, you see value in reading the document I sent to you, all the 3 trends that are shaping industry. Convergence is one of them. So let's go to page 71. And I want you all to highlight, oh, okay, look here, I didn't highlight it, but I actually want you all to highlight the first line. The convergence of a physical and information security has, oh God, look at this here, has numerous definitions, right? I just give you one of mine. When you fall in love with this thing, like all we have, you are going to come up with your own opinion or saying or understanding of it. And that's all along there, right, guys? But the theory, for the purpose of the book, I want you to highlight for me Tyson's 2007 definition of security convergence that talks about integration and that kind of thing. So I want you all to please highlight that and you know, you all marry that, you all digest that, so we highlighted Tyson's 2004 definition of security convergence.
2007.
2007, sorry, as you, 2007. We also want to highlight convergence. The line that starts with convergence allows physical security devices to interact across a network for substantial organizational gains. Highlight that, please. Convergence allows physical security devices to interact across a network for substantial organizational gains. And I'm reading further. So please on the line, I'm reading to the second, going into the third line. It creates a significant, again, I'm reading from the second line, going into the third line, so please on the line. It creates significant additional risk to the organization because the physical security devices are now accessible from anywhere in the network. And now, in the last line, now they are, you don't need to highlight this, now they are potentially accessible from anywhere in the world. Now, guys, I want to bring it home to you all here, right? Most of you all have a security practitioner. I'm sure that you all have your houses equipped with a camera system, and that camera system maybe a 8-channel, a 12-channel, and we'll have some, you know, some private we'll capture some private imageries, but more so for the protection of the home should something occur. You know, you're able to have a sort of review footage. How would you feel to know that? How would you see your HIK, your Hikvision camera system is actually being viewed by somebody right now? Now, I'm not going to tell you change out your brand. So I'm telling you this, you're not going to have to change out your brand, right? But Hikvision is actually one of the most compromised security brand of cameras, domestic cameras that I've out. Now, sorry?
What is that? What brand is that?
HIK.
Oh.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. I know I'm digressing here, right? But we're gonna you understand the need for convergence and the application and the need to ensure that whilst the electronic system in place, you fulfill the electronic aspect of things, but you didn't fulfill the security aspect of things. So I just try to bring that home there to you, right? So as you remember in your implementation, it is electronic and security, and marry need two of them. Okay, so we're moving quick along here now to, right, we're gonna wrap up here. I want you all to look at page 81. Again, it is not for now, it just makes a good reading, but it is the reference text of where they would have got, ASIS would have got the majority of the information. As we go about the chapter, see, we flow in, guys, we flow in. Like I know Carlos time at 5 o'clock, but we flow in, and I intend to finish. As we go about this chapter, you are going to see the definitions for NIST, definition for various terminologies that you need to know. I cannot remember seeing iOS when I was reviewing it last week, but we'll get there. Okay, so please turn to page 85. Okay. So what we're going to do again, just like before the other chapter, we're going to work from our way bottom, come up, right? But I'm looking at the time and I want to make sure we stick with the time. I just want an honest response from everybody, right? So, just there's no right or wrong answer. The reason why I need an honest response is just to see how I could progress, if I can move in quick time, or if to do a slow march, right? Everybody, just got to show of hands, right? The person's read chapters before, hand? Just show a thumbs up if everybody had a chance to read 2, 3, and 4.
I skimmed through it.
Okay. All right, no worries, guys. So we're gonna, okay. All right, so we're gonna do a little. Is there anything? Is there okay, Mr. Skeet, I know that you're a member of the protected services. Is there anything between a slow march and quick time?
Not really, no.
Sorry?
No.
No.
No, not that I know of.
Well, somehow or other, we're gonna have to find the middle ground between a slow march and quick time today, right?
There's a difference.
Sorry?
There is differences. There are differences.
Right. So that's the pace we're gonna progress with today. Somewhere between a slow march and quick time, we are going to be able to finish.
Slow march is about 20, 25 paces a minute.
I can't remember. I didn't.
And quick march is something like 75.
Well, right. We aiming for about 50, right, guys? And I am moving with you all. And again, to those of you who were in last class, I reaffirm, I commit that I am available thereafter, even after the domain, right, guys? All right, so let's look at page 85 and let's look at the bottom. And you are going to see the way how they structure this domain and all the other domains. Do we have the writing books, guys? It's the real best, as the young people say. They did it I mean, it was articulate, it was well done to them. So look at the bottom paragraph, and it says this part of the protection of assets presents an overview of the ISS body of knowledge and includes risk and numerous technical, legal, and management challenges. Now, we won't hear too much of the legal aspect of things, but I want you to understand the purpose of what we do. As I mentioned, I want to quote Colonel Garcia. What we all do here is risk management. Installation of cameras and IDS is risk mitigation. So this is what you have to focus on. All right, guys? So we're going up. The second part, the first, I want you all to highlight for me the objective of an organization. First paragraph. Objective of organization, information system security. Look at the spell out again for you here, guys. Information system security program is to prudently and cost effectively manage the risk that critical organizations' information could be compromised, be changed without authorization, or become unavailable. I want you to highlight for me the next word, and you're going to see it as we move about. In the first paragraph there, that's in other words, I want you to highlight for me the last 2 words: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Throughout this whole text, you're going to hear about CIA. And again, is 225 questions, right, guys? That at the end of the session that we may decide to hit you with a mock exam. And you're going to see what is CIA. And you're going to switch on and say, listen, CIA is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. That's how simple the answer, that the questions are, guys. And I want to stress, ASIS rewards you for reading the book, because you wouldn't believe the kind of CIA, what CIA, they're going to put something that really, it will sound like CIA means credibility. The I means intelligence or something along that line, and A means authority. And you are going to say, yeah, boy, that was CIA means. But I want you to highlight that CIA and take note of it, please. So we say ISS, and ISS means information security systems, right, guys?
No,
No?
no.
Wrong.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay. All right. So we are going to. So we see another on page 87, please. We see 3.1.3. I want you to hold your hand on that. We're gonna come back to that, right? We are gonna come back to this. So we're going past. We are going past to page 90. And I want you all to look for me, please, here on page 90.
what?
Nine note. Now, in your spare time, guys, I want you all to look at figure 3.1, right? In your spare time. But we're gonna come back to that. We're gonna come back to that, right? Let's look at what I brought you all to here for. Right? I brought you all to here to look at. So let me just make sure and highlight. Put my 1 second, please. So I'm gonna come back to page 87, please. I want you all to highlight for me 3.1.6, which is information security countermeasures. Right? So basically what it talks about, what is information security countermeasures? Simple, guys. It is self-explanatory, but I'm not trying to make anybody feel like like this thing real difficult and simplistic. No. the way how the books are phrased and how it is formatted, you are going to see how everything is interlinked to each other. Information security countermeasures are the self-discipline information security essentially tools or techniques that you could use to prevent a breach. But it brings it down from a theoretical side to a more practical overview. And it gives a more standard terminology that you could use and reference when you want to talk to your IT personnel or your ICT personnel or your cybersecurity professional. You want to be able to use the proper terminology. So you know you're listening. I want to put I want to talk about a perimeter countermeasure, right? But he went really talking about perimeter countermeasure, right? For my information security system security. So he's not gonna be caught on to that. He don't have a clue about perimeter security. But what you're gonna have now, if there's a look at the second line now on the administrative controls, you're gonna see technical controls. And technical controls talks about network login, password, firewall, audit logs, encryption, antivirus, spam filter. That is the terminology that they know. And what we're learning now is to be able to speak their language, because this is what makes a CPP professional an all-rounder. You could talk about HR measures, you could talk about ICT measures, you could talk about legal measures, you could talk about physical security, you could talk about investigation. So you are all-rounded professional, right? So what we're doing here now is learning the jargon, so learning his language, ICT professional. And I want you all to highlight for me under information security. I want you to highlight for me administrative controls, technical
What page
controls.
are we on?
Page
Sorry?
Page?
19, page 9 note.
Thank you.
Sure. So we want to highlight administrative controls, technical controls, physical controls, right? So when you go on, you tell the man here what you seen. You want hey, Mr. IT man, I want some access control authentication. What this man talking about? You're gonna tell the IT man, hey, listen, I want some technical countermeasures. Oh, okay, sure. All right, guys. So and it could be used as a combination, guys. So it don't necessarily need to be that you're going to use technical controls only. You can use a combination of any combination of all three, or you can use all three. We want to go to page 91, and this is the formatting aspect that I was telling you to look out for when you're doing your reading. Now, I know some of you may be looking at this book for the first time, but I'm going to show you guys how the book is designed and how the book is formatted and refers to the previous line or the previous bullet point, right? Please look to page 91. And talks about, in addition to classifying countermeasures by type. Everybody seen that the first paragraph? It is valuable to classify countermeasures by where they are implemented. So you can take a note of that. But I want you all to look for me, pay more attention to infrastructure countermeasures. What do you think infrastructure countermeasures will be? If it is, you're going to look at the left-hand side of page 90, which is administrative controls, technical controls, physical controls. So the question I'm throwing out to you guys, and there is no right or wrong answer. Because just 1 second, right? There's no right or wrong answer. I want you all to look at administrative controls, technical controls, physical controls on page 90. And I want you all to look now on page 91 and say, here is the scene. I'm looking at infrastructure countermeasures. And what does infrastructure countermeasure could be classed as? Could it be classed as administrative controls, technical controls, physical controls? Or you tell me. And let's look at what countermeasures are. It's perimeter security, device protection security, access control, and authentication. Would it be a combination of all, or one, or whatever the case may be? Please, Curtis, you were saying.
I was going to answer the question.
Yes, please. Yes. Sorry?
Let's say exactly that. It's a combination of all of the information system countermeasures.
Okay. And why you say that for?
Because it deals with in case of perimeter security, that comes under physical controls. Device protection security comes under technical control, and access control authentication can be something that is developed by administrative controls in terms of policies and procedures. Right.
So Curtis, here this, it was my mindset when I now sat down and just like how it is, I would have sorry, not me. When the 6 of us sat, my colleagues, again, just like all you're together, or they're gonna get real tight. If it is all they keep together, so they're gonna get real tight, right? The 6 of us, we sat down and went through this, and we're like, no boy, it is a combination, and we fight and we quarrel, not fight, right? You know what I mean? And we joke about it, but when we look at it, right?
It's convergence.
Sorry?
What you're talking about there is what we're looking at here as countermeasures is pretty much what we've been talking about, which is convergence.
Ken, front of the class, my brother. Front of the class. That is convergence. That is convergence. And this is how we now talk about convergence a while ago, and you've seen it here now. Now, Curtis, the difference is, right, is that the perimeter security, the device protection security, the access control and authentication is actually technical only because it falls within the language of the ICT parameters of technical. Again, Curtis, I was on that same wavelength before I actually read it. So it's only when the 6 of us sat down and we read the book. And so the last thing I'm going to tell you is about the guidelines. We actually saw how and why it is explained that the network login, password, firewall, audit logs, and encryption, antivirus, and spamware falls within the technical parameter only. Now, if it is you take your, and Curtis and everybody else, I want to take your attention quickly to look at on same page 91, I want you all to look at the first paragraph. In addition to classifying countermeasures by type, it is valuable to classify countermeasures by where they are implemented, And I want you all to look at the first line now. Countermeasures on the information security infrastructure. So ASIS tells us that here is it. We know you're a physical security specialist now, but when you go and talk all your language and you want to talk to the ICT person, anything that deals in perimeter security, device protection security, access control authentication is technical. Technical. See, guys? So this is why this book, you all are going to be able to hold on to this book, and when you're applying on the security infrastructure or applying on the policies, you're just going to use this book as a reference text. This is now the Bible of a security practitioner. So you see, Curtis, you see how, you see, one second, Kev. You see, Curtis, you see how it catch you at first, right? Because they watch it, no, there's a combination, but it's really the convergence of technical. It is really talking their language. ASIS, come and tell us now, you're talking their language, perimeter security, device protection, security, access control is technical. So if it is, you could just indulge me, guys. On the side of infrastructure countermeasures, I just want you all to write technical in brackets for me, please. Underline infrastructure countermeasures and write technical. We are moving on now. When you finish, guys, we are moving on now to information system infrastructure management and countermeasures. And everything that I just explained there, again, there is no right or wrong answer, guys. Well, you understand what I mean, guys? There's no penalization for giving wrong answer, or I have no tokens for giving right answer, right? Let's look at excuse me, right. Let's look at what information security infrastructure management countermeasures are. Vulnerability of patch management, system monitoring, and log review, information security metrics, physical security. See, guys, so we talk about vulnerability, we talk about system monitoring, patch, physical security of system infrastructure, and IT staff training. Now, by the time we start talking about IT staff training, I want you all to switch on to know that administrative. So I'll give you an answer there, right? Administrative. Do you all think there is only is information security infrastructure management countermeasures only administrative, or is it a combination of others, or is it a combination, or is it with one other classification? I throw that out to you. Anybody?
It's a combination of all three.
Not bad, Curtis. Not bad, Curtis. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. Guys, I want you all, I mean, if it is here, switch on to this. I'm gonna just quickly, and please, I know we say 5 o'clock, but I am willing to push if you all push tonight, because we more than halfway completed the book. We more than halfway completed. I would say, if it is, I have to say, we are 7 years completed. I want you all to look at looking back at page 9, not 90. I want you all to shift your focus now to 90. Let's look at information security countermeasures. And this, guys, is for the benefit of all, right? We have 3 classifications for how an ICT professional will deem a countermeasure, right? But you know, you want to talk about you need something for your perimeter security. Hey, I need some IT support for my perimeter security. And you go down the road and tell me, hey, I need some perimeter security support, or something like that. I just using it from the book here, right? Well, I need some device protection security. What are you talking about, sir? And then they're going to have to explain every single thing on his son, including the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus, as to what you need, right? However, if it is use the reference book, you're going to know that from an infrastructure countermeasure standpoint, when you're talking about perimeter security, you are talking about, and let's say you're only talking about perimeter security, you are only talking about, let's look at 9 note, you are only talking about administrative controls or technical?
Physical.
Technical. We are only talking about technical, because I want you all to look on above of page 91. Let us look at page 91 and they give you the answer, everything right here. Let's look at page 91 to the tippy top. The first paragraph reads, in addition to classifying countermeasures by type, it is valuable to classify countermeasures by where they are implemented. And the first one that talks about countermeasures on the information security infrastructure, you are going to see technical. And what does technical means? If you're going to look at the second bullet point, which is underneath that infrastructure countermeasures, it talks about perimeter security, device protection, security access control. So you want to talk about here, you need to install a RBH or a card reader. You need to go and tell the man you need technical controls. You're talking his language, you're talking IT man language, right? And it is why a high percentage of ICT practitioners report into the CSO, the Chief Security Officer. That's one of many reasons why. Because you are not all wrong and you could speak their language. I want you all to, if you didn't write it in already, I want you all to write in technical right next to infrastructure countermeasures. And on your own time, you're going to read what type of classification infrastructure countermeasure consists of: perimeter security, device protection, etc., etc. I want you all to now to look at the final in page 9.1, the final bullet point, which is information security infrastructure management countermeasures. And just like Curtis said, about Curtis, I want you all to write for me both. I want you to write for me administrative controls. I want you to write technical controls and physical, because it is a combination, the convergence of all three. Okay, guys? No, it's songing. Is it starting to show you how the format of the book and how it brings back into the...
You said admin, technical, and what was the third one?
Keron,
Sorry?
can you repeat that last statement you make there?
Sure. On the third liner of page 91,
Yes.
I want you all to highlight for me information security infrastructure management countermeasures, right? And on the side of that, I want you to write in, and as Ken said it, for convergence, I want you to write in administrative, technical, and physical. And the reference for this, which is administrative, let me give you a chance to write down first: administrative, technical, and physical. Excuse. And the reference for that is that if it is, you're going to look at page 90, you are going to see the IT man language. You are going to see under 3.1.6 information security countermeasures, you are going to see what administrative controls, technical controls, physical controls consist of. On the flip side, when we look at the classification aspect of things, on page 91, where I asked you to write down administrative, technical, and physical, it speaks to the combination or the convergence of classifying those countermeasures. When they ask you, here what you see, they're going to ask you, I am going to ask you, I am going to ask you a question. When it comes to information security countermeasures, perimeter security, device protection security, access control, authentication all falls into technical, administration, or physical controls. Now, because Curtis would have initially, and Curtis, I'm not picking, I'm just calling him by, because as an example, right, Curtis would have initially mentioned technical, because our physical security background would have spoken, and this would have been a combination. We are looking at page 91 here, right, guys? We talked that infrastructure countermeasures would have been a combination of, our experience would have been a combination of all three. But now we've learned from looking at this here now, it is not. It is solely technical. So a question will be like, as it pertains to information security countermeasure, perimeter security, device protection security, and access control and authentication belongs to which class countermeasure? Technical, physical, administrative, and I might get hit all of the above. And we know now that it is solely technical. If it is, guys, you're not catching it, I'm gonna just leave you with this. I want you all to take up a marker and look at the top of page 91 and look at the second item, which speaks to countermeasures on information security infrastructure, and look on the side of that. You see the word technical, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
let's look at the second bullet point that speaks to information system, infrastructure management, and countermeasure. The nice in a corner, real hidden, administrative, technical, and physical. Same thing underneath. Executive and senior management countermeasure, which you're going to turn to in the next page, right? Administrative, technical, and physical. And the fourth one now, community-based countermeasure, administrative, technical, and physical. So everything here is a combination, as Ken saying, convergence, except technical. And you're going to, so I need you to understand that, because you could get away from the others, you know, because the others are, as you all see here, I want you to highlight for me in the first paragraph, as I would have asked, in the first portion of the book. Let's look back at 91. In addition to classifying countermeasures by type, it is valuable to classify countermeasures by where they are implemented. And you see the 4 bullets there? Tell you what a countermeasure for information security system, information system infrastructure is technical. Guys, you're going to see in junior assessment, you're going to see that question repeating over and over and over. They're not going to be so nice and tell you they're going to give you all, now I hit your information system infrastructure management, because they want to reward you for reading the book. You read the book, you see that the first one is infrastructure countermeasure, which means technical. Again, we are looking at page 91 here. You read the book, you're going to see the second bullet point, infrastructure countermeasure, technical, is 3 things: perimeter security, device protection security, access control, and authentication. Okay, guys? That is how simple it's going to come. And if it isn't, sorry, as you. That is how the phrase, that is how the book was formatted. And if it is, you can find the link, you will be successful. So I know I want to, before we go on a quick little break, let's go to page 92. And from here now, we are going to go back now to page 87. Okay, so let's go to 92 and highlight for me. Executive and senior management countermeasures. And I just want you to write for me in brackets on the side of it, admin, tech, and physical. Likewise, you are doing the same community-based countermeasures, and you're going to highlight, are you going to write for me admin, technical, and physical? You know, you want to set up a system in a community. I get the community. You're going to use all these aspects of things. I'm going to repeat on page 92. Two things I want you to highlight for me: executive and senior management countermeasures. You are going to highlight that and write inside admin, technical, and physical. And I'll explain why. And the second thing I want you to highlight for me on page 92 is community-based countermeasures, and you're going to write for me on the side of it, administrative, sorry, I just short admin, administrative, technical, and physical. And I'm going to explain to you why. The reason why you are writing that for is because when you are finished, just as we wrap up, so now it's 4:45, at 4:45, sorry, oh, shucks, no, it's 4:45, okay. Just quickly, the reason you're writing that for is because it is a combination. Any of these implementation, any of these measures that you wish to implement, if you go to look at page 90, forms part of the information security countermeasures. So please finally highlight in page 92, and this is just for your reference and and it makes for a good liner to remember. The last paragraph: everyone in the business, including executives, frontline personnel, and security managers, and in the community organization, is responsible for information security. So basically, in my workplace, in junior workplace, everybody has something from a safe HSC standpoint. Everybody have stop work authority. Everybody, no matter from captain to cook. So if it is you see something that is not on par with the proper standards of or safety standards of operations, the most junior employee, even subcontractor, stop the work. What you're saying here is that everyone in business, including executives, frontline personnel, executive security managers, and And a community organization is responsible for information security. So it is everybody business, right, guys? And let's wrap things up, right? So now it's 4:46. Let us take a quick stretch. Let us walk around the system. I know it's probably getting a little heavy, but I promise you it's really near the end, guys. I kid you not, no BS, right? We never near the end because a lot of diagrams are after. So I want you all to turn to page 89. Sorry, as you page 87. And we're going to start back. We just have a couple of things to recap. And I'll explain to you why we need to, right? So how long you want to go on a break for?
10 minutes.
5, 2? No?
10 minutes.
A 10-minute break.
10, sure. But if we go 10, all you all wanna push fast to finish the entire thing today, guys?
Yes, we'll do that.
Yeah.
I wanna get a hear from everybody if we're gonna 10. I wanna say 5 if you
Yep.
Kevin, I know you have things to do, bro. Tell me something.
Yeah, like a short.
Riyadh,
Yeah.
Michael,
Push on.
Yeah,
Curtis, tell me something.
you finish when we done.
You're like a live man. All right. All right, guys. So we will take Ken, what I need to do, just pause the recording, right?
Yeah, you can pause recording.
Okay, guys. Sure. Okay. So we want to pick up from where we left off. Now, it is not only am I in agreement, but all my other colleagues who have went through this self-study methodology. Again, when I say self-study, I want to reiterate. 6 of us, we spend time by each other's home, and we trash it amongst ourselves and went through this using a method given to us by a notable member of ASIS. His name is Dennis Shep. He just only asks that if it is we are using this, that we cite him, we reference him, and I am in total agreement in his methodology use, and which I am sharing with you all here today. So you all get away from having to read this type, and also have to go and get the information and then write it in. I'm telling you exactly what it is. So when you do guys slide, just wait to read it and compare necessary notes. Okay, so we picked up. We ended on information. Sorry. Countermeasures. Yes, thanks. And we went back to page 87, and page 87 talks about information security, information system threats. I wanted to tell you first if we're going to bring it a war using a methodology from fighting a war. I wanted to tell you the type of weapons you have first, and then tell you the type of threats you have to deal with. Right? People will tell you, hey, here's this thing. Now we tell you the threats, and then after you go and debate the type of weapon you have to use or type of caliber weapon. I did the groundwork already for you. I tell you the weapons you have to use, and I'm going to tell you now the threats that you have. So you don't need to pack a 50 caliber in your bag, right? Let's look at 3.1.3, which talks about information system threats. Again, you all are going to go a little more in depth in this, which talks about doing your emergency planning with a top lecturer, top coach, Jared. You're gonna go. His profession is crisis management. So you're gonna go a little more in depth in there. However, I want you to highlight for me one of information system threats is nature, and that is obviously not man-made, not malevolent, but earthquakes, hurricane, and natural disaster. We rule that out. Cool. We don't do that. We all know that, right? From all the risk assessment frameworks and systems that we've been in, or the drills, that's out of our hands. Let's deal with what's in our hands, right? We're going to go to page 88. So first of all, let's go back to 87. I want you to make sure you highlight earthquake, information system threats, earthquake, hurricanes, and other natural disasters, right? We already agree to that. We know what that is. Let's go to page 88. And there's people. And I want to ask you guys, through one of the learnings, one of the major learnings from chapter 1, what is the number one safeguard that you have for in the event from a legal protection? What do you have in terms of protection from one of your former employees or current employees that actually take information and use to their advantage for your disadvantage? What legal document is there that can protect you?
The NDA.
NDA.
See, guys, it is the first and foremost. And I mean, I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but you're going to see this in all the mocks that you're going to do. You want to take action against somebody who you have no document with, well, then you're up a creek and you have no paddle. So people is one of the first threats. Talk about the different types here. And again, during your emergence, during your session with Jared, you're going to go a little more in depth into it, right, guys? That's what we're going to deal with now from our information. So we're going to deal with virtual threats. I want you to also highlight people and virtual. So just take a line of that. But I want you to highlight for me, a virtual threat agent is the equivalent of a ghost in a network. It's real difficult, guys, to find a virtual threat agent, because this paragraph goes on to talk about the stealthiness of that individual, the ability for him to use malware, the ability to use Trojan, and all the other aspects of knobs and that you need to know about. We're going to get to that because these are part of the assessment that you'll do with myself, okay, guys, or in future. So highlight for me, please, in that same page 88, a virtual threat agent is equivalent of a ghost in a network. A ghost one may not even know is present until acting on behalf of the real world owner. So it don't need to physically be somebody, a hacker waiting there live. And we're going to get to what a hacker is, right? They don't necessarily need to be that person waiting there live. You could have simply set a Trojan, you could have simply set a malware. We're going to talk about those things as we move on, waiting there to activate. So please take note of that. Virtual threat agent is the equivalent of a ghost in a network. Again, to reiterate, it don't necessarily have to be somebody who physically come and breach the system and waiting there. He could have come and set a trap and say, listen, when I ready to deal with them, I go to do them. And this is how a lot of ransomware actually operates on that premise, because they come and set a little malware into your system infrastructure. And they don't necessarily need to activate for you to go and pay them no money to wipe the system. There, and when they're ready, and they'll probably go through whatever means to analyze and assess who you are, then they say, right, let's launch an attack against Christopher. Okay, guys. Page 89. Some, on the second paragraph on page 89, some virtual threats currents as of this writing. I want you to highlight this for me, please. As of this writing. Anybody can interpret what that means, as of this writing? Could anybody give our insight as what they interpret when you hear some virtual
based on the time that the book was published?
Thank you, Jeanette. Thank you so much. However, there was a recently released POA. I haven't had a chance to look at it as yet. There may be a question in there, answer in there, that probably would have been updated. So I'm giving a caveat here, a disclaimer, that this book would have been the previously released book. There's a version that was released last month that probably could contain. However, it is probably a bit. I'm being a bit. Let me be a little cautious here. If you're going to ask a question, if I would ask a question, so if I'm doing my assessment, I will ensure that I include to ask along the line, what is the most current or what exists? So we all know about Zeus. Zeus is an online banking Trojan. We all know about Nobface, which is a computer one that targets people. We know about keyloggers. Keyloggers is actually one, if it is, you can test him, check your memory here. Keyloggers was one of the first things that would have been the first big thing around. keyloggers would have been somebody, malevolent means, again, not a ghost, a keylogger would have been a gentleman who would have come with a flash, this is an example here, with a flash drive, and every stroke that you put on your keyboard, it registers. So how they work and how they operate is that, let's say your password is the #1 team in the West Indies, which is a lie, right? But let's say how that is your password, right? The #1 team is the West Indies. So all knows you use that flash drive easy, right? And go and upload and see the consistency or the recurrent keystrokes. And essentially that's what a logger is, a key logger is, right? The second one would have been what you see, the first one would have been mapping spyware. And we all know of that. Especially if anybody visits any of those questionable sites, we will know what spyware is, those little pop-ups that want you to come and click me to speed up your network, or click me for whatever means that you're visiting those questionable sites on. So those 4 there is the most current in the industry. Again, the caveat is there may be a 5th or 6th that they'll recognize, but don't hold me to that. Okay, guys? Keyloggers is actually something that I keep seeing reoccurring, and that's why I just want to in depth explain what keyloggers are. Anybody ever had any experience of that by chance?
No.
I actually witnessed during a TSCM suite, I actually witnessed a Bluetooth device. You know, most of these keyboards actually coming out wireless friendly keyboard, wireless friendly mouse. And if it is, you go to actually look at how these devices are connected to your network is actually via a dongle, which is a smaller flash drive. What a friend of mine would have showed me at a banking institution is that the individual would have plugged in a flash drive into the system, which would have plugged in the dongle into the flash drive. So every keystroke registered via a Bluetooth device being captured in that keylogger. Keylogger don't necessarily have to be on a USB again. That's just a sideline there, right? It could also be a software that they install, but most of the times, when it in my experience, when I saw them, was actually on a USB flash drive. So you understand what I mean, right, guys? It was a male with the whole with the female to have a dongle device inserted into it. Okay, guys. So we're moving on to page 89, and again I assure you that we wrap it up here. I want you to highlight for me information system vulnerabilities. Now, I told you all what the but that's okay, Peter. I told you all what caliber of weaponry you all have. I told you all the threats that you have to deal with now, and you look at the vulnerabilities. So I already did the legwork or the groundwork for you. So I want you to highlight for me 3.1.4 information system vulnerabilities. I want you to take a look at number 3, the third point, right? When you're finished. So highlight that entire thing. There's 5. I want you to highlight that. And look at the third one. When you're finished. The third one speaks of vulnerabilities in people maintaining the information system infrastructure, custodians, including too many permission. Many a times we actually create a software database and we go on and give administrative rights to Tom, Dick, Harry, the Santa Claus, and Easter Bunny. What is the purpose? What is the purpose of having that system in place? Why you have that for if you're giving away administrative rights to everybody, especially right now, where everybody wants administrative rights to everything? You need to understand the foundation and why a system was built and the collective aspect of things, or the breach or the vulnerability could be with you. You go and give everybody administrative rights, administrative controls, or you're going to give the custodian, you give the custodian who charge for maintaining the database. And let me just bring it back to most of you may have security companies here. You have to take account of from a tenant's standpoint, you have to take account of everybody coming to your facility. And bam, here as you seen, the man who you give it to, he's friends with everybody. I know you all have that in your organization. We all do. A man who is friends with everybody. And you hear when the man in Kirap on the bus route, he call he partners, log me now, boy. Log me now, log me. Put my name present now. And what you do now is that you facilitating another form of ghost that we hear in the security company. You facilitating ghost attendants. So it is important that how you maintain your security infrastructure by know who you're giving your custodian rights to, guys. That could be a major vulnerability. Your kindness or your dependability on staff could actually make you become compromised. I just want to touch on that today, guys. Again, during your learnings or your self-reading, you could any questions may pop up to you. Please feel free to reach out to me. So I would have identified to you as a close up here, moving to the last page. We're just going to look at some diagrams after. I would have explained to you all the protection mechanisms that you'll have with the countermeasures. The classification of those countermeasures and the language that you use, be it administrative, technical, or was the third one? Anybody can tell me what's the third one? Administrative, technical, or
Physical.
Physical. Beautiful. So I told you all now, we went back to page 87 and we talk about threats. And when we look at the threats now, we look at the vulnerability that contribute to that threat. So we just work our way back to the front. Okay, guys? So I just want to tie you all up. So you can just, when you're reading, you can read as one flow. You don't necessarily need to be like, oh, I just did it here. I just break it down just to reiterate that point and just explain it a little better. All right, guys. So let us move to page 19. Back to page 19 now. Now remember we talk about CIA. You keep seeing the CIA gonna pop up, right? CIA is the fundamental basis for the protection of your network, right, guys? So let's look at the ISS, and ISS stands for Information System Security. Notice why we're singing this song, because you're gonna start seeing, it's gonna be one of those recurrent things, right? In your own time, guys, I want you to look at, and I need you to cram this. And yes, it is a word that ASIS don't like, but I will sing that song any day. As I mentioned on recording and on record, that my intent is to ensure that you pass the program. And when you're finished and you become CPP, then I want you to read, we will read the book together. I commit to you all, we're going to sit down and read all the domains together. But right now, I need you to cram what CIA means. And we're going to talk a little further on the definition and the explanation of it, right? So please highlight. You don't need necessarily to highlight, however you're going to highlight it. Highlight for me on that information system control objectives. I don't know, you all please highlight for me the third paragraph. 3 other control objectives must be met: detection, recovery, and compliance, as shown in figure 3.1. And we look to the left-hand side when they talk about detection, recovery, and compliance, which is at the top there, the top column. I want you to look at the row on the left-hand side, and I want you to highlight, make it bold. If you have a nice ruler, underline confidentiality, integrity, and availability. What it means, we'll dive into it. We'll dive into it. But I need you to remember what CIA means. It don't mean Central Intelligence Agency, guys. Although we're kind of cool.
What page are we on?
You're on page 9 note.
And we are highlighting information systems control objectives.
Information system control objectives, yes.
Yes, sir.
And I want you to get your nice ruler with a nice pen, and I want you to highlight for me on the left-hand side, because you're going to be seeing this all over. On the left-hand side of the table of figure 3.1, confidentiality, integrity, and availability. I give you my word, we're going to dive into what it means. but for the sake of, yeah, I need you to memorize the meaning of CIA: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Let us now move to page 103. Sorry, page 97, sorry. And just take a look at that diagram and highlight that diagram again. It speaks to 7, sorry?
Page 97. Right?
97. And I want you to highlight this to me, please, right? On 97, 9-7, you're going to see OSI. Yeah, where's OSI? Guys, I found out what OSI is after. But basically what it means, and it really reads from bottom up, right? But it basically talks about these 7 layers of an open system interconnect model. Fancy words for your operating. We talk about many operating systems. So this is essentially how the computer works. It could be presented to you in an assessment on Wednesday or whenever. One of the measures, or which measure is not part of the OSI model. Or it could ask, what does OSI means? So highlight, cram, study, dive deep, however you want to phrase it, whatever mode or metric you want to study this. I need you to study this. And, oh, sorry, I also write next to it, if I didn't mention it, OSI means open system interconnect. A question could be phrased on Wednesday. What does OSI stands for? What does OSI means? Or which element is not part of the OSI model? Again, guys, if you look at the left-hand side, I'm not saying, and I want to stress, please, I'm not saying that the left-hand side is not important. It's great reading, right? It's great reading, right? We want to go now to, when you finish, we want to go to page 103.
(103)?
Yep. So we finish up with just a recap. Sorry, yeah. I'm trying to move us quick. I want to right. But so I'm shutting out a bit. But OSI means I need going back to page 97. Sorry to make you all keep going back and forth. Right. That's one stressy point, right? A question on Wednesday or whenever you may be doing any mock exams or anything like that may come. What does OSI stands for? It stands for Open System Interconnect. Or which is not part of the OSI model. Again, on your free time, you can go and research what physical, data link, network, you go and research all those things. That's all well and good, right? Memorize, please, the OSI steps, the layers of what that OSI model is. Okay, guys? When we finish, and we can see, you're going to read this whole thing again. Okay, guys, so when we finish up with that, let's go to page 103. And we're going to talk about authentication. Or as my daughter says, my little girl, when I was reading during the CPP, she said authentication. She's putting an F. We want to look at the AAA triad. So you are going to see during your learning, you're going to see authentication, authorization, constantly. Hardly you're going to start seeing auditing. It's only as you get more in depth into it, you're going to start seeing auditing. Need you to understand what the AAA triad is. The AAA triad essentially speaks to the framework that you have for implementation of any basic login authentication system. if you're going to look at the diagram here, and again, I'm not insulting anybody's intelligence by reading it verbatim, but just look at it here, okay? You start with your name or your title. You start with a two-factor authentication, and you start with a password. Two-factor authentication could be you put in your password on your computer, and then you have to confirm via a mobile, like WhatsApp web. You put in you use your credentials on your phone, all right? And let us just say you need to go and access WhatsApp web via a website or a data laptop or desktop. You need to come now on your phone and verify the QR code. You go up, and that falls within the authentication, right? The authorization is by you using the platform and knows that it is you by using your phone password. Let me just say you have a numerical value or a code or a pattern, which a lot of people do now. And all right, and you'll always see those two things, right? You'll always see authentication or authorization. And that's just mentioning both of them just in part, but explaining importance. Hardly likely you'll see auditing, and this is where we just fail. So the AAA triad or the AAA triad speaks of all three aspects of authentication, authorization, and auditing. This speaks to the framework of login authentication for a simple or for your information system security. Bringing it back home now, right? Again, for the purpose of the CPP, just know and memorize what authenticate. So I want you to, if it is how I highlight in there, go ahead and highlight for me, please. Authentication, authorization, and auditing in figure 3.7, 3-7. We are going to go to my favorite partner now, CIA. When you finish with that, right? So on page 103, we are going to underline with your ruler, your pen or your markers, your Sharpies, authentication, authorization, and auditing. So you're going to ask what is not part of the AAA triad, or what is part of the AAA triad. Okay, guys? So now that we finish that, we're going to move to page 104. And we look now at where does the AAA triad feeds back into now. We don't have. But it makes for good reading to understand the aspect of, in page 104, confidentiality, integrity on page 105, and availability. Please read it. Please, as I say, okay, so while you're highlighting, I'm just going to read an excerpt for you of availability. You don't necessarily have to highlight this. It falls under the parameters of availability. If the users can't get their data, it is not much of use. There's an old IT joke says that there are two kinds of computer users. Those who have drives have crashed, and those who have drives will crash. So those who have crashed or who will crash. Again, it's good reading. You know, probably you can memorize it, some aspects of it, but please know what CIA means, right? Confidentiality, integrity, and availability. I need to stress that to move on. Again, I'm not saying that you don't need to read page 106, 108, 109, 112. But so we're doing good. And I want you all to know we're going to wrap up now with this chapter. And we're going to go now to page 122. One, two, two.
Thank you.
122.
Yes. Now, Curtis, please, don't take a picture in here, Curtis.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Remember how we talk about what is the equivalent of NDA locally?
Yeah.
What it is again?
Secrecy Order Act.
Okay, good. So remember we spoke about that, right? And we talk about how there are certain frameworks and legislation that you need to memorize that is US based.
Yeah.
Right. This is one of them that I need you all. I highly recommend that you highlight, underline, whatever. Page 122, page 3.3.4, underneath the figure there. general accepted information system security practices. Please highlight for me. G, generally accepted information system security practices, GAISP. Go figure, right, guys? So this is one of the many acronyms that you're going to be asked about, or asked to the right-hand side of it. Now just wait 2 seconds. So that's the right here on the 3.3.4, generally accepted information system security practices. You are going to highlight for me generally accepted information system security practices, GAISP. And you don't need to highlight it, but just good reading there, just to share with you. On the right hand side of 122, we are going to dive in this one though. Just they talk about many things here. They talk about these the Oxley Act. The red, remember we were talking a while back about the red flag rules. We're gonna touch on what that is. But you see that Sarbin, and I could never pronounce it correctly. Oxley Act.
Sabinas.
It's a reoccurring gentleman that you're gonna see in those mock exams. Reoccurring, and I'm sure it's a reoccurring product. Because that is essentially what started this bad boy. You see, Kevin, you see just like how 9/11 started the ISPS code, and I mean, I'm just using that loosely here. That act would have essentially started the turning point for the creation of information security. So it would have been highlighted as a major standard, a major act, sorry. And when we wrap up, please, if I forget to talk about, please remind me to talk about the different guidelines and the standards. I will remember to touch on because we have to touch on the guidelines for this domain, okay? So moving on. So please turn to page 128. (128) 3.4.5, the first 2 lines there. Highlight that. Highlight with a marker, and you know to also highlight the creation of 1934, that date. In your those two lines here. Oxley Law of 2002 has been called the most significant new security law since the Security and Exchange Commission was created in 1934.
I missed the one you're speaking about before. I didn't get to highlight that one. Where exactly is that?
That was page 122.
The GAISP?
Yeah, GAISSP.
It only has one S.
Sorry, yes. Sorry, yes. GAISP, yeah.
So we are required to highlight that 3.3.4, the first paragraph.
3.3.4, not the first paragraph. Just that generally accepted information system security practices.
Thank you.
Because during your review or your rereading, you know it's going to stand out. And what I do want guys is to highlight anything unnecessary.
All right, good.
Yeah, Kevin?
Yeah, I'll raise my hand to ask a question. Yes.
Okay, sure, no problem.
And 128.
128, thanks. So I need you to highlight, you see that first 2 lines? And if it doesn't have a pen, also highlight for me the creation, that 1934 date. You're going to come across some assessment questions in your major mock of things about the creation of New Age policing, which would have fallen under Sir Robert Peel. The creation of the first detective agency, which is Albert Pinkerton. So I just digress a bit from the learnings here, but you're going to get that in the other domains that you're going to do. So the big on history, yeah, U.S. history. Okay, good. So finish on 128. Let's go to page 120, and this is wrapping up here for. Yes, we're gonna. Okay, good. So right, good. Wrapping up here for Chapter 3, wow, nice man. Moving the time, guys. So by 6 o'clock, we expect to finish. 3.4.6 red flag rules. We spoke on that. We spoke briefly on it. But I need you all to understand, to highlight, all I need to highlight is the fair and accurate credit transaction fact act. So we're going to turn to the next page and see what the categories, but for this, the purpose of page 129, please highlight fair and accurate credit transaction fact act. To finish it up now, let's look at the categories of what a red flag is and what a red flag could be deemed as I was promised in my teachings in chapter 1 last week, or this earlier on in our recap. Let's look at page 30. Please highlight what red flag categories are. Again, asterisk, bold it, however you want it. This is a heavy guy here. Okay, so we're going to be back. So we finish up now, guys. So on page 130, 130, you are highlighted for me the red flags categories. And if you're going to look at it again, it is self-explanatory. That is why it is so nice that I don't have to take time to go and read until you hear what. If you get an alert on your, all right. Anybody here have just by a rhetorical question, right? Anybody have a camera system at home and have that camera phone, have that system linked to your cell phone? And the majority might say yes, right? If you get an alert that pop up and say, here you see, in night, my motion detector pick up movement on the gallery camera, and you get an alert on your phone, the proper terminology is a red flag. That's the term you want to start using. You get something in your office, and you get an envelope, and the envelope look tampered, right? It'll have a little powder, or you see some kind of thing that is it ain't right. The term is a red flag. All right, guys. So just highlight it, and then you're reading and you're rereading, especially when you're seeing a lot of words in this chapter and the pages. This is going to stand out to you. Okay. Moving on now to page 1, ISS. Let's just touch it. 141. 141. So we look at ISO 27001. Highly recommended that this is highly recommended that you highlight this as well. And again, it might make sense to be timely to go through it here, but in your time,
ISO 27002.
ISO 27002.
Yeah.
The first paragraph, ISS policy implementation. I want you to highlight that whole thing, and please be able to regurgitate it. You don't need to know it verbatim, because when you see it, guys, you say, don't worry, I have to remember this whole thing. No. Just read it. What helped me, what helped my 5 colleagues is that we read it, we wrote it, and we said it. So when we saw the mocks on them, the mocks that we saw that we seen, oh, we don't need to do anything verbatim. When we saw the answer, that is the answer. We know they can't come with anything like that for us, because the SIS rewards us for reading the book. So please, 3.5.2, highlight the first paragraph and the other 3 bullet points under that. And we are moving to complete this, right? Under 1.4, under page 142, you don't need to highlight this. What I need you to highlight for me is in the first paragraph, NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technology. Now you're gonna be, yes, you have a glossary here that gives you the meaning of words. Yes, but I want to give you the key learnings. I want to give you the key words that you need to know.
What page
This
again?
stands for the first paragraph, second to last line. You're going to see according to NIST. Highlight, please, NIST.
What page, please?
142, the page right after.
Yes.
142.
Yes.
Highlight for me, please. NIST, which is in the first paragraph, the second to last line. And it stands for, so you can take a pen and write it down, National Institute of Standards and Technology. Again, to repeat, National Institute of Standards and Technology. If you're going to look at, when you finish with that, let me just say back over again. National Institute of Standards and Technology. Now, please take your attention to the second paragraph. Sorry, third paragraph, which means according to CERT, a well-known information, Look at the second line in the third paragraph. And please highlight for me, again, to repeat on the same page 142, third paragraph that starts with according to CERT. Go to the second line in that paragraph and highlight for me Computer Security Incident Response Team, CSIRT. If you have to write it over, no problem. Highlighting Computer Security Incident Response Team, CSIRT. You could, if it is a statistical note, let me just double check. You could just write on your notes here, see page 149, Appendix A for further definitions. You could just write however you want to phrase it. I have my notes here, my personal notes. See page 149, Appendix A for further definitions. Now, all right, so just to reiterate for a third time, on 142, we are looking at the first paragraph of incident response. Yes, we know what incident response is. Good, good, good. But we want to highlight NIST, N-I-S-T. And NIST stands for National Institute of Standards and Technology. On the third paragraph, second line, I want you to highlight Computer System Incident Response Team, CSIRT. And in your own pen, handwriting, you take a pen and just write see page 149, Appendix A for further definitions. Right? You know, whatever that may stand out. Let's go to page 144. We are not sticking here now, guys, because we are on the home stretch. So we like to finish and we be able to start chapter 4 and finish chapter 4 in 2 days. ISMS, Information Security Management Systems. Take your pen and highlight that whole thing for me, please, because it is in line with the standard that we just dealt with here, which is 27,002. Excuse me. So remember I told you that there are 2 main ISO standards, right? Hey, Curtis.
This is one.
What page you on? Sorry.
144.
Okay, thanks.
No problem. Yeah, sure.
This is
So
the
guys,
previous one.
Sorry?
The previous one referred to ISO 2002.
2002.
2001.
So this now is the second one we're dealing with now. We would have dealt with the first one and 2. You're dealing now with I want you to highlight for me ISO 27001. And in your time, you can remember, you can memorize this. The second line there, an organization ISMS is part of an organization ISO 27001. Overall management system based on a business risk. Please highlight that whole thing for me. And you have to read that, be able to understand it. And it really just tells you what is the formation of that ISO, of that management framework. Now, if it is you're going to deal with ISO, and this is a digression a bit here, but just to make the point, there are several standards that fall under it. So like, for example, ISO 14001 is environmental management system. ISO 26000 is, supply chain management. I believe 36001 is risk management. 9001, ISO 9001 is quality. Now, all of those things have one thing in common, guys, one thing in common, which is known as the Deming cycle. We're going to get to that shortly. But be able to know the differentiation between both the 27001 and 2. So please, again, to reiterate, on page 144, highlight kindly the second line under 3.6.1 information security management systems. Highlight for me the second line, an organization of ISMS, and the following paragraph, which stands for overall management system based on business. Highlight that whole thing, please. And if it is, you can take a pen and highlight. When you finish there, take a pen and just underline. Includes organizational structure policy, plan activities, responsibility, practices, procedures, processes, and resources. Carlos is here with a panel chuckle. Inside joke there. That will be useful for your assessment. Good. Wrapping up here, 3. And we are going now to what is known as the Deming cycle. All of those things that I have mentioned there from all the ISOs that I've regurgitated there, from, as I say, ISO 9001, and even me, when I did my undergrad, I can remember dealing with ISO 14001 Deming cycle, and I was like, what is this about? And then I came and get into the other formation of ISOs for lead auditor, and you start seeing it over and over again, and then now come in CPP and you start seeing it and it starts making so much sense. I don't know why I didn't read this book first. I tell you. Let's look at page 145. 145 speaks to the culturalization of how ISO standards are able to achieve their target. And it starts with what is known as the Deming cycle. Plan.
The what cycle?
Deming cycle. DEMING. Please don't put me on it. And just remember, I don't think I see it here phrased as that. It is known here as the Plan, Do, Check, Act model. And if it is you're waiting, you had a nice fancy stationery in the corner. Now is the time to put out that stationery to highlight what Plan, Do, Check, Act is. All right. So that's highlight figure 1 there. Might look a little confusing. But in your as we wrap up with this, you're gonna just refer back to page 145. Figure 315. Okay, guys, if it is, I forget to mention that, right? So as we move forward to go and talk about Plan, Do, Check, Act, please write on the side, refer to the model to get a little more in-depth explanation or idea. Let's look at page 146. Guys, and I can tell you, and you're gonna. Kevin gonna tell me he has something like a broken record. ASIS rewards you for reading the book. You don't need to memorize it verbatim and see and be bummy or scared or intimidated. Oh gosh, I don't know what it is. No. When you see it and you read it, you write it and you see it, you're gonna be able to identify the appropriate response given to you. Need you all to highlight for me on page 146, plan, do, check out that whole thing. We are going to touch on it a little more in depth, but just highlight that for me, please. Now, the reason why we can take you off chapter 4 and 2.2s is because information system security is still evolving. Junior would have hit it on the head. At that time of the writing, it's still evolving. However, the majority of your questions, your 30+ questions, comment on what this book is. Look how small this book is in comparison to all the other books. So they reward you. They reward you for understanding the concepts here. So let's go back to the interest of everybody here. Now that we highlight plan, do, check out, let's just look at the Demon cycle. All right, let's go back to page 145 because I see that we still have a little change in the time here, right? So it starts off with plan. Before, remember to tell you, the proper thing would have been to tell you what the threat is, what your vulnerability is, and then tell you what mitigations you're going to have. So think of it like that. You identify your threats. You identify your vulnerabilities. You identify now how we're going to treat it, what caliber weapon we have. And then when you don't do that now, you continuously monitor. If the cycle needs to repeat again, I just give it to you in a real war terminology, right? So your plan. The plan says you're the sinner boy. Let's see what the threat is now, right? Do. You go and find out what's your vulnerabilities. Act. You go and you fight your war. And if it is the mission was accomplished, on the plan, to check, act, you repeat the cycle. So plan, do, check, act. Let's look at the cycle here, right, guys? Let's look at the left-hand side. Now, I was told in my learnings that you could start a cycle from anywhere. You could, like any security practitioner, you don't necessarily need to implement any new system. You could just perfect it. For the purpose of just the nature of understanding the methodology used here, let's look at on the left-hand side, which is plan, right? Plan, then the cycle goes to do, then the cycle goes to check, and then it goes to act. For the purpose of CPP, I know you're going to be seeing other boxes and whatnot. Don't let that fluster. Just remember, it is a continuous cycle. That is why the original terminology for this is called the Demon cycle. There are several YouTube links that in about 2-3 minutes gives you a nice, perfect understanding. But for the purpose of CPP, you have to be able to talk the people language, right, guys? So in this module and in the other modules going forward, you're going to see plan, do, check, act. And I believe in the security business and practices, it goes a little more in depth. Let's explain it a little more further. Let's look at turn the page on. Let's look at page 147. ISS cultural challenges, and you could take note of it, and it explains why we can look up chapter 4 in 2.2s. All right. Let's look at the second bolded top point there, which means ISS cultural challenges. And let's look at the line that follows thereafter. ISS is a new canonic block. In most organizations, the ISS function has not been in existence as long as other departments. The field itself dates only to 1970. Just to bring it back, as I mentioned a while ago, another Junior would have ended and talk about why it is still evolving, because at the time of the writing of this manual, those are the 4 major heavy hitters of vulnerabilities identified. So in your preparation for your exam, in your preparation for this domain, all you just really have to focus on is just this, and your guidelines. And that is 30 questions, guys. That's a lot for a small book domain. Like a lot for small. So they reward you guys for going through this. All right, so let's turn the page here. And page 149. Okay, page 149. We don't need to highlight anything right now. talks about the definitions that you'll see all the time. If you're going to see the second last one, NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technology. Yep. My hope, and this is me lobbying here as we look to wrap up. My hope is that after you complete your CPP, you move on to the new brainchild of security protection, which is information security protection, and join with me with the group, the Caribbean Cyber Security Privacy Association. I am a professional member of that association, and I really look forward to having you all there. And yes, I am lobbying for membership with the Caribbean Privacy Security Association, Cyber Security Association. Yes. If it is you do want to get into, if it is you want to get into information security from a professional standpoint, if you're going to look at page 150 under under information system certification, you just here is just a touch on some of the certification that you could go to. The major guy is ISACA, but anyway, we're moving on, right? Just to give you an idea, if it is, you like it and you want to get into it, yeah, it's actually real nice to get into. Okay, guys, so we have finished out. So we have finished out 1, 2, and 3, and we're gonna wrap up here in 159, chapter 4, 159. Let's just take a 1 minute stretch, and I assure you, we're wrapping up here in 2 days because we're just gonna be highlighted about 3 or 4 pages. Okay. So you can just take a 1 minute, drink a little water as I'm doing here, or just take a stretch and we're gonna start. All right, guys, so we jump in. So let's look at page 159, and let's look at that word, security challenges of convergence. So we talk about how nice it is. I know you talk about how you might see you might come across something you really like it, but they don't like you. Well, this actually talks about the challenges of that. So you would see a repeat of this. A definition of, anybody can remember having to highlight this. The first paragraph, the first line there, Tyson's definition of convergence. Again, I strongly recommend that you highlight this and be able to identify it. So if it is a see this in a question as an answer, be able to identify it. So again, for the second time in this manual, I recommend that you highlight Tyson's 2007 definition of convergence. All right.
What are we highlighting?
On page 159, for the second time in this book, you are going to highlight Tyson's definition of convergence.
Okay.
So we are on page 159. Now I know it, guys. I know we reaching a point. I mean, it's difficult to have concentration, but the reason why I asked that we push on because it's just a few things, and you'll catch it. You'll catch it in your review, right? On page 160, turn the page. I need you to highlight again for probably the 8th time. On page 160, sorry, 160. The first line, and the ISS principles have 3 basic elements. I repeat. Information system security principles, which are the first line there. There are 3 basic elements: confidentiality, integrity, and availability, also called the CIA trial. Please highlight that for the 8th time in this domain. ISS principles and on 3 basic elements: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. All right, so when you finish that, we are near the end, I promise you. We want to talk about on page 168, communications attacks. And as a good friend of mine would have explained to me, is that who is ISACA certified, is that we are still in the learning phase of this. In my questions, in all my sessions that I've done, I did not see anything related to this. However, Mr. Dennis Shepard, in his wisdom, recommend that we highlight this, and we are going to highlight it. So please, you never know. You never know. However, the caveat is in all my assessment that we've done, and I did individually and in a team, I did not see anything from here going forward. Okay. But I repeat, Mr. Shepard, in his wisdom, recommend that we highlight this. 4.2, communication attacks, social engineering, direct hacking, malware, and web attack. The malware, the web attack, we'll touch on it briefly on what is the SQL, and we will spoke about the malware, but the social engineering is still being ironed out. That is what a ISACA representative would have indicated to me. So let's move now. We already highlight those 5 things, and the 4.2 we highlight 1, communication attacks as the header, and the other 4 derivatives under it, which is social engineering, direct hacking, malware, and web attacks. What I like about this book is that when I compare to my ISACA notes, it just gives you a basic read of what social engineering is, direct hacking, as opposed to having to read a volume of text. So let's look to page 169, and I assure you guys we are wrapping up. And I know we feel it. I'm feeling it as well. Social engineering. Please highlight that entire thing. Social engineering is the manipulation of people to get them to do something that weakens the security of the network. One of the ways criminals use social engineering is to convince people to give up their user's ID or password. You'll see a lot of emails you'll be getting, not the Nigerian emails, nothing like that. You'll start seeing emails that basically tells you, hey, your account was hacked. Please click on the link to get access to your email address. So please click on the link to get access to whatever. And you're gonna have to, when you click on the link now, they're gonna tell you, well, all right, to get into the account, you need to input your user ID and your password. Okay, guys? So when it is you get that, what is the terminology you want to use? Peter just called on you, right? If you get an alert like that on your phone, or you get an alert like that in your inbox, what is the CPP terminology that you need to use when you get them kind of strange alerts?
Piracy.
Sorry?
Piracy.
All right. Anybody can tell me what's the CPP terminology when you get a kind of strange alert on your phone?
Red flag.
Red flag.
Red flag. Red flag.
No bad at all. That is the term, right, guys? I'm going to sing the words. We're going to stop the words, right? Guys, just 1 second, please. 1 second, please. Sorry about that, everyone. Sorry about that. So we want to move to direct hacking. And please highlight for me the first line and with network in a direct hacking attack. A hacker works with tools under his control to gain access to the network. Please highlight that. Also highlight for me in that same paragraph, the 3rd line that starts with similarly. Okay, so I reiterate, we starting first with direct hacking. Please highlight a hacker in the first line of the first paragraph. A hacker works with tools under his control to get access to a network. You are going to the third line in that same paragraph. The hacker needs to identify what defenses are in place and then defeat them. One thing thereafter, the fewer defenses that are in place, the more easy a hacker can compromise the system. Again, it is just we know that already. If it is you have few countermeasures, if you have few protection in place, you stand a chance of being a victim. So there's no real goal information here that stands out, but again, I want to give it to you exactly how I got it. In the second paragraph, the 2 lines here, look in the second one. If they can steal the password via social engineering, they will, and you can highlight that going into the 3rd paragraph. I want to repeat. The second paragraph is, second paragraph, second line. If they can steal the password via social engineering, they will, and we go into the 3rd paragraph, first line, use brute force password crackers. So there are tools. Again, in my mock that I have done, assessment that I've done, individual and as a team, I did not see any of this. However, Shep said to take it, so take it like this, right? Under 4.2.2, the second liner, the second paragraph in the second line, which reads, if they can steal the password via social engineering, they will, and we go into the 3rd paragraph, they will use a brute force password cracker. I can tell you what it is. I'm aware of it. So if it is, your standard Windows password, you could use something called a jump drive. So gone are the days when you had to go and carry your police had to come and take a computer, carry it into cybercrime. They come with a jump drive and they crack your Windows password. Is a brute force password cracker. So they pull out your hard drive from your desktop and they access it via something like a jump drive. Jump drive is just information here, and they have access to all your desktop, your documents, everything like that. But they have it in a DOS version. I've seen it done. Seen it done. It's amazing. Okay. Lastly, on this page, on the 4th paragraph, hackers look for vulnerabilities, program flaws that allow people to do things they should not. I'll just give you a look at it, right? Again, 4th paragraph, hackers look for vulnerabilities, the program flaws that allow people to do things that they should not. Good. And we now finally look to wrap up here and we move to page 174. And again, probably for the 9th time, we are going to highlight things here that we already highlighted, but it is important that especially when you're reading through the book, okay, guys? 174. 174, page 174. Information security management systems. Again, page 174. This thing is a recurrent decimal. Please highlight for me on the first paragraph, second line, information security management system, ISMS, describes in ISO 27001, 27002. If the question was asked, where would you see an information security management system? ISO 14001, ISO 9001, ISO 27002, or ISO 36001? You know to yourself, guys, that when we're talking about information security, we are talking about ISO 27001 and 2. Note to ourselves that when we're talking about information security, we talk about ISO 27001 and 27002. So please highlight that for the 9th time. I don't know if anybody keeping count. Or you're going to correct again because you're going to have to highlight something again, but you're going to recognize why I keep reoccurring for. Please turn to page 17. Sorry. 182. Sorry. Please turn to page 182. And under 4.3.8, again, 182. 182, that is page 182 under 4.3.8. You don't need to highlight the bullet point. Just highlight for me the last line. The last line in the first paragraph that speaks to CIA, confidentiality, integrity, or availability. I have picked up in this book here. Normally they will talk about the CIA triad. And so let me just say how it wasn't really important. Right? They'll talk about the CIA triad and leave it as that. But they spoke about the CIA triad in the first chapter, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and come and tell you what CIA means. Is that a red flag? What you guys think?
See it as a green flag.
Sorry?
I see it as a green flag.
A green flag. All right, guys, please highlight on page 182, the first paragraph of 4.3.8, the third line, which says CIA triad, confidentiality, integrity, and availability. And again, for the 40th time, on page 23, under 4.3.11 compliance, let's look at what the last one says. The Sarbanes-Oxley Act, SOX. Again, please highlight it. Red flag or green flag, whatever flag. And we are now at 6:12, and we want to conclude here at page 184. So before I move to page 184, let's look at page 183. 183, please highlight for me 4.3.11. Sarbanes-Oxley Act. And we are now moving to page 184. And I have to end on what I feel so dear about. And it is the second paragraph in conclusion, which is convergence. Converge, and I want to read it verbatim, probably discuss it a bit to wrap it up. And I ask you to highlight for me convergence on the second, so under page 184, 4.4, the second paragraph, convergence in security highlights the importance of joining the physical security paradigm point of view of the point of view of the physical security practitioner to that of the information system security practitioner's counterpart. So to break it down for you guys, as I mentioned from the beginning, since we started on Wednesday or this morning or this evening, sorry, convergence is joining of the IT infrastructure, the digital landscape, however I want to term it, with your physical security attributes and just marrying them together for a nice mix up peel out. Again, my take on it, okay, guys? So, gents, in closing, I just want to ask you to highlight one last thing. And this is the reiteration as to why you need to understand the jargons, why you need to understand the terminology, why you need to understand the administrative, technical, and physical terms and where it falls into the classification. Because in the last paragraph, please highlight for me, and for your learning, and this is the takeaway, just like the long paragraph I would have read for you, which it means that your investment of your security infrastructure must be equivalent to the asset you're protecting. I want you to highlight, just for your reading, not last paragraph, physical security professionals should talk with their ISS colleagues and understand the ISS problems that the logical security, and so just highlight that whole first line and second line, please. Because, gents, gone are the days when persons with malevolent or ill intention would come to your office front door only. Notice I say only. They will now choose to come through your Cat6 cable. They will now choose to come through your electronic means of accessing all their vulnerabilities. Gone are days when they'll just come through your front door with a gun only. Only, it still happens. Huh? The information security forms part of the security practitioner's protection of assets, and it is why ASIS deemed it fit to put it as a domain with 13%. When I started these studies, it was 9%, and it went up when I wrote the exam in 13% chance. So in closing, I just want you all to highlight and write for me in that space to the bottom there, to please refer and read in depth your IAP guidelines. It is one of the documents that I have sent to you following our class on Wednesday. So just please write down IAP guidelines And there is a difference between guidelines and standards. Guidelines is exactly what it is. They tell you you don't have to do it, but you could do it. Standards is if it is you want to maintain a certain certification, you have to follow what we tell you in the Standards Act. So during your domain studies, you're going to see there are various standards and guidelines. However, to complete this reading, and the majority of assessment questions you'll actually see is, and let me tell you something, guys, the IAP standards, if you think this thing small, the IAP guidelines is about 11 pages, 10 pages. You just have to go and just read the bullet points. And a lot of what we did here today came from the IAP standards. So I urge you in closing, gents, to open up that email that I've sent to you. I would send you a link to a copy of this recording. I'll try to put it up in YouTube. I'll look to you for some technical advice or to get it to all persons. In addition to reviewing this session here and your books, please read your IAP guidelines. So, folks, I want to thank you all for your attention. I know we went past the time, but kudos to you all for making that determination and discipline to want to get the CPP credentials. Thank you so much, folks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Sooklal, for your time.
It is my pleasure, gents. Any questions?
Thanks, Keron. Thanks, Keron.
Mr. Sooklal, thanks so much for your time and effort. Thank you.
It is truly an honor and a privilege to be with you guys.
Same on this side, Keron. Same on this side.
Guys, any questions before we wrap up? You all, I know it was a lot to take on, but
you say this domain is 13%? 1-3?
1-1-3. Yes, that is correct. Hold on, let me just double check. 1 second, please. 1 second, let me just. Read it together. All right, you all seen this by chance?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not seeing the percentage.
Sorry, no, it's not 13, it's 14.
14%.
It's 14%.
Information 14%. Right?
Yes. All right.
So
this would have been what we will discuss on Wednesday last. So this is the tools, your POA information security text, which we just went through, your information asset protection guidelines, which I will send to you via email. Again, it is 14 pages, and the majority of the things that you're going to see in there is what we discussed yesterday. Just for you to go through it now and just highlight again. Highlight. Just find it, highlight it. And further guidance by IS coach, I give you my commitment that I will be available 24/7. I mean, Wednesday is not the last class you're going to be seeing me. I'm just I'm involved in another program right now, and yeah, it's taking a lot out of me. Yeah, so we were spoken on the 3 trends of the shipping industry: automation, data privacy and protection, security convergence. I will share this document with you all as well. And again, it makes for great reading.
Thank you.
All right, gents. So again, thank you so much. Have a blessed one. Have a wonderful Sunday, and best of luck with your studies and with all your other. No, wait, I'll be seeing you on Wednesday. Sorry, I'm shutting down here. I'll see you on Wednesday for a brief assessment. That will be very much beneficial to you for your records.
Can you disclose how many questions will be in that assessment?
My assessment?
Yes, your assessment.
No. Why I disclose that for Oscar? Let me stop there. Do I stop and save or just stop it here? Ken?
Pardon me?
No, you can just stop it.